Hi there, my name is John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA. And welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This is for Baptism of the Lord Sunday, or if you're doing Epiphany Sunday, if you're celebrating Epiphany, or if you're celebrating Epiphany on Saturday, on the 6th. Here we are. So, Happy New Year. I hope this, filming this on Tuesday, 2 days after the, January 2nd. Anyway, Happy New Year. All right. I have lots of items for the possibility of these two children's sermons. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Epiphany. Epiphany Sunday, when I celebrate the Epiphany, I like this tying in the travel of the Magi to the travel of us and where we might find Christ in our midst. If we're going to follow the star, where we might find Christ in our midst. And a couple of ways I've done it. At the Dollar Tree, they have they actually have star pillows that you can press the button and it plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I almost got that one, but I pressed it once and then I pressed it twice and it got annoying very quickly, so I didn't. But they are there, so you can use that. What I've done before is I've cut out a star and I've put it on a long stick so that the kids can follow that. This year, and I think I've done this before, but I love it. This year, I'm using star stickers. And so at the beginning of the children's sermon, I'm going to have a card with a star on it. And then I also give each one of these, I give the kids a star, and we're going to put either the star, I like putting it on their hands because it's less invasive, so that if you're going to put it somewhere, you can just put it on their hands. So they have it, and they can also lift up their hands. You can put it on the back of their palm like this, you can put it on the front, but they lift their hands. And we walk around the church. We walk around the sanctuary, we go to the pulpit, we go to the altar, we go to the baptismal font, and then I go into the midst, into the center of the congregation. And the kids follow me, and we talk about following Christ and where we might find Christ in this place. And so we find Christ in the sermon and in the Word when we hear scriptures read. We find Christ in the waters of baptism. We find Christ in communion, in the body and blood, and in the bread and the wine. And then we walk out into the midst of the congregation, and with everybody with their hands raised, talk about how Christ is present here in our midst, and that when people are looking for Christ, they don't have to look any further than us, that we are the body of Christ. And so as we follow the star to different places in the sanctuary, it ends up that we find ourselves in the midst of the congregation, that all of us then can play the role of the star. I call it the GPS, God's positioning star, so there we are. That's the direction I would go and am going for Epiphany Sunday, using stars. So there's that. Baptism of the Lord. A couple of different ways that we can go about it. One of the things I noticed in these texts were almost every text that we have has the voice of God, or the voice of God speaking, and that when we use our voice and when we hear the voice of God, there can be power in that, especially when we speak up for our neighbor, when we speak up for those who are outcast, those who are shunned. We have that no matter how old we are. We know what happens when someone bullies, when someone is pushed. We can use voices for that, or we can use voices for good. And so in these texts, we hear the voice of God, and out of that comes creation and salvation and good stuff. So, a couple of items. One is the standard. I've used this a couple of times, but it's the do-ti-do. It's especially great. We're so close to this side of Christmas, you might still have one hanging around, and a do-ti-do looks kind of like this. It's a roll of paper, a roll, and do-ti-do. And so the voice of call it, or you can talk through like this. and there we are. The voice changes, and talking about the fun parts of using our voice. Another option is if you have a fan, and this is great because Star Wars is out, pulling it back to Darth Vader when you speak through the fan, Luke, I am your father, or a robot voice, we all across. So there's the fan, again, tying it into the voice. And that way you can use your voice and then talk about how other ways voices are used. That in the scriptures, the voice of God brings out change, and we hear the voice of God saying to Jesus, "You are my beloved, you are my son, with you I am well pleased," and how that brings about salvation. So about the voice. Another option is in the first lesson in Genesis, that God's voice brings order out of chaos. And I think that's mentioned in the Working Preacher commentary on this, but that God's voice brings order out of chaos. And the item I would use is a deck of cards. And I'm going to teach you something here. And this is a shuffle. This is how I do it. So, there's games that we play. One of the games that sometimes we play is called 52 card pickup. At least that's the game my brother used to play. And that was taking a deck of cards and throwing it up, and then you have to pick it all up. Chaos everywhere, cards everywhere. We're not going to play that game. But in that, there's a way of shuffling the cards that seems pretty crazy. And it's pretty chaotic. It's all mixed up, and it's chaos. I mean, we've got cards that are face up, we got cards that are face down, we got cards that are face up, we've even got cards that are back to back, like that. So chaos. But if we speak to the cards, straighten yourself, all of a sudden all the cards are, well, one card is not. I messed up there because I was going too fast. But this shuffle is called the Slop Shuffle. And you're pushing off a little bit of cards here. You're turning it over. You're pushing off a little bit of cards. You turn the entire thing over. It looks like everything's being messed up, but it's not. It's an optical illusion. All what's happening is you're splitting the deck into two halves. You can kind of see that. And when you go faster, and then you can show, when you pick up the bottom half, you show that some cards are face down. Pick up from the top half. Some cards are face up. And then you have a natural break there. You pick that up. Some cards are even back to back. And at that point, you flip this side over, put it back, and when you show them, you show that all the cards are back. And so you pause that when you have it like this, you've got it in the position where it's half and half, and you're at this, and you've done this, you pause it for a second, and that's when you either speak to it or the voice, that in the beginning, God spoke and order came out of chaos. So, and then you drop the cards on the floor and kids laugh, and it's a fun time. So there's that, order out of chaos. The other, the last item for this is the glow stick. And what I like about our text this week out of Mark is when the voice speaks to Jesus, and there's a line that Mark has that the heavens were torn open and the dove came down. And what I like about, so you've got the glow stick, and that where you can talk about when the heavens were torn open, that's that break. When the heavens were torn open, and this idea that with the glow stick, that when the heavens were torn open and the dove descended upon Jesus, and there's just a sense this is good storytelling stuff. So that if you have a glow stick, that possibly in the breaking, in the tearing of the heavens, and as the voice comes down, as the dove comes down. So all kinds of different items you might use. Hopefully one of these can be a springboard for your own thinking around your children's sermon. Thanks for stopping by. Apologize for this one being a few days late, but hope you got something out of it. And thanks for stopping by. And I hope your new year is starting off fantastically well. All right, thanks.